X39 has really changed my life. I'm not stuck at home in pain in bed. I'm out here with my friends and enjoying my family.
Big thank you to Lifeway for helping me, helping my family, and helping the 100 people now in our team who are using Lifeway daily and their families. Big thank you. Love the products.
And I have energy through the roof.
I sleep better. I have so much more energy.
Throughout the day, I can focus better. I can concentrate in my work.
Our church worship service lasts 45 minutes. For the last 2 years, I've not been able to stand that long. 2.5 weeks into wearing the X39 patch, the pastor said, "You can now be seated." It dawned on me at that moment that, my goodness, I've been standing this whole time, didn't realize it.
After starting using the technology for approximately 2 weeks, my pain completely disappeared.
32 years of pain gone in 3 days.
I just love the products. They just help me to feel younger and younger year after year.
Thank God for X39.
My skin become younger, softer, firmer.
It's been really amazing.
I love X39 because it really helped reduce the inflammation in my knee. I can now run again. Woohoo!
Well, good evening, everyone. And we are recording and we are on Facebook. So hello to everyone in Facebook land. I want to welcome you to our Tuesday evening introduction to LifeWave and this very special product called X39. So this evening, me and my partner, Gregory, I'm Robin Blank-Mascari, will be going through, Gregory's going to do a short presentation. And then following that, we're going to introduce our special healthcare practitioner, Ann Moreau. And then after that, it's your turn. And so if you have stories to share or you want to ask a question, please put it in the Q&A. And a little reminder, symptoms only. So I'm going to turn things over to my partner to get us started. Over to you, honey.
All right. Well, here I am and here we are. So thanks, everyone, and welcome to our call here and our webinar about activating your stem cells. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So hold on just a moment. My screen look is a little bit different for some reason tonight. So the share screen button is hiding. So there it is, share screen, and away we go. The show began. So as I said, we're going to talk about activating your stem cells. Before we do, I'm going to do a little personal testimonial that I finally figured out what I want to be when I get older, younger, and I bet you most of you can relate to that. So let me ask you then, and switch it to you. Let me ask you a question, a personal question. If anything were possible, what is one thing that you would choose to experience differently in your health or in the health of someone you love and care for? And if that were able to be different or changed, what difference would that make for you or them? And we're going to talk about some pretty exciting potential opportunities for enhancing your health here tonight. Before we do, I just want to make note that our products are not designed or intended to heal, treat, or diagnose any disease. They do, however, help our bodies get back into a more healthy, regenerative mode, and many times wonderful things begin to happen. So welcome to the stem cell revolution, because we believe everyone wants to look, feel, perform, and live younger. And we found that stem cells are the key because they're a vital part of our immune system that helps to repair and regenerate damaged cells. Now, here's the problem. Here's the sad news. The older we get, the less stem cells we have. And by age 60, only a small percentage remain. And the fewer stem cells we have, the faster we age, the slower we heal. It's like going downhill, and picking up speed. But, what if there was a way to put the brakes on and level that out, maybe get back into a more healthy, regenerative mode? And that's what we're going to talk about. Now, what about stem cell injections? Because they become quite popular, but you know what? They can be pretty expensive, painful, risky, controversial, and you could spend tens of thousands of dollars with limited or no guaranteed results. Well, the good news we've got to share with you tonight is you can look, feel, perform, and live younger with a historic breakthrough in stem cell technology. It's a new wearable technology in patch form. It's a affordable, safe, non-invasive. It's drug-free, totally non-transdermal. It's a patented form of phototherapy that uses specific frequencies of light to increase and improve our stem cell activity. Now, this is the brainchild of David Schmidt, our visionary founder and CEO. And David's not only a brilliant scientist and researcher, he's a genius inventor with over 130 patents and patent pendings, and he's been on the leading edge of phototherapy research and science for over 20 years. David and his team have already conducted over 80 clinical studies proving the efficacy of our LifeWave phototherapy products. And you know what? Many studies are in the works because this is a very science-driven company, and we're all about the research. So LifeWave now is 18 years old. We just recently celebrated our 18th anniversary, and we're really a high-tech, science-based company focused on health sciences. It was started back in 2004 based on an energy-enhancing technology David developed for Navy SEALs to increase their strength, stamina, and performance without the use of drugs, stimulants, or caffeine. It turned out to be so effective, it's now used by professional athletes around the world. We have corporate headquarters, laboratory and manufacturing in California, Utah, and Ireland. And we already have global distribution to over 75 countries with 15 global distribution centers. So the word is getting out, and LifeWave patches are now used by pro and amateur athletes around the world in almost every sport. The media's begin to notice, and you know what? You might too if you look carefully and you see these auspicious little white round patches on your favorite athletes and Olympians' bodies, and that's us. That's LifeWave. So how does this amazing technology work? And real quickly, I'd like to share, it's based on a type of light therapy called photobiomodulation. And LifeWave patches contain very specific combinations of organic materials and nanocrystals. And when they are applied or near our body, they're activated by our body heat, and they begin to emit very specific wavelengths of light, which stimulates targeted and beneficial biochemical responses in the body. So photobiomodulation is the basis of our LifeWave phototherapy patches and our technology. Now, it's been a well-recognized and proven scientific principle that different frequencies of light can cause different specific changes within our body. For example, we all know when we go out in the sun, a specific frequency of light causes our body to make vitamin D. We don't get a vitamin D download from the sun. We get a download of a frequency of light that tells our body to manufacture vitamin D. Likewise, there's another frequency of light, UV, that causes our body to make melanin, the chemical that gives us a suntan. Well, LifeWave's patented technology is based on this same rock-solid, widely recognized scientific principle. So our focus for the last 14 years has been in the field of anti-aging and regenerative science. And in 2019, just a few years ago, we released to LifeWave, to the global market, the LifeWave X39 stem cell activation patch. And this truly is, excuse me, a historic and affordable breakthrough in stem cell activation. Some are calling it the holy grail of anti-aging. And we're actually dealing with the multi-billion-dollar companies and big pharma have not been able to do. And X39 actually activates a specific copper peptide that activates our body's own stem cells and also alters gene expression towards a younger and more vibrant you. So it's truly a game changer. X39 stem cell activation is a breakthrough, and our inventor, founder, CEO, David Schmidt says, this is my greatest achievement yet, with an emphasis on yet, because David spends more time in the laboratory than in his office. So yes, we have patents. Yes, we have clinical studies. And yes, we have field results proving that X39 is actually turning back our biological clock, helping people to look, feel, perform, and live younger. And for us baby boomers, this is very, very exciting news. So that's my part of our basic front end of our presentation. So Robin, I'm going to stop sharing and turn the camera back over to you.
Thank you, Gregory. That was wonderful. As always, I hope, especially for those of you that are new, I invite you to have a pen and something to write with, because there's all kinds of great information here. So now we get to introduce our special guest this evening, and she comes to us from Maine, magnificently beautiful Maine. She's been a healthcare practitioner for many, many decades, over 4, as a nurse and as a nutritionist. And she currently works with many people as a health coach to heal that microbiome, help people understand that healthy food is tasty and delicious. And it makes a difference what you eat, because food can be poison or food can be medicine. And she's masterful at bringing her community together and educating people so beautifully. She's a gift to all of us. Please welcome Anne Moreau.
Thank you very much, Robin, for that. I really appreciate it. And I love being here and sharing so that we can help this community learn about our unbelievable stem cell product, X39.
You're such a great educator. I mean, and I love how you share stories. So any new stories you want to share before we jump in?
You know what? I absolutely do have one that
I bet you do. You always do.
Well, the first one I want to share is my personal experience most recently. When I got back from a trip, I came back to Maine, and you know, Maine is very cold in the winter, and we had some snow and we had some ice. And when I went out to get my vehicle, I hit a patch of, it was black ice, and I didn't see it. And I flipped right on my back and landed on my back. Now I'm 70 years old. And I'm laying there and thinking, oh my God, that hurt. I could feel it in my lower pelvis. And I thought, I am going to be terribly painful. It's going to be painful. I'm going to hurt tomorrow morning. I got up, and you know what? It wasn't bad. And then I thought, when I got home, I thought, you know, it's going to be sore tomorrow. So I put Eon on my back. I had X39 on all day, right? But I put Eon on my back that night, got up the next morning, and had 0 pain. And I was floored. I was like, oh my God. I mean, no pain whatsoever. It was really surprising. It was really surprising. But, you know, that is what X39 does, right? It helps with rapid repair, and it helps with any kind of pain management and recovery. It was like, oh, okay, I really recovered quickly from this fall, for sure. So the other story I want to share, Robin, is I'm going to read it because it was powerful when I received this. You know, sometimes we don't feel necessarily the stem cell being activated. We don't necessarily feel that, right? And people will say, well, I really don't notice anything. Well, you don't really notice it when you're losing all those stem cells either, right? Nobody really feels that it's happening over a long period of time. So you don't really notice it so much. And as your stem cells are being activated, you don't always notice it either. But this story really demonstrates what can happen without you realizing it. So this is what from one of my brand partners. She said, oh my God, do I have a story? My friend in Maine, his name is Dave, sent a sleeve of X39 to his brother-in-law who's suffering from a really bad abnormal cell growth. He used them the month before they were going to take his blood and harvest his own stem cells. They said it would take 3 to 4 days to at least get 7 million stem cells. So he goes in on his first day. They take his blood to harvest the stem cells. He gets a call the next day, and they say he does not need to come back because he has 14 million stem cells. Isn't that cool?
I remember reading that. I loved it.
Yeah, it's a great story.
I mean, we just get to hear these amazing things happen every single day that are, like, we say wow all the time. Okay, so we've got this amazing technology, and who is it for and who isn't it for?
Well, it's pretty much for everybody. I mean, anyone. I mean, when we think of children, you know, David will often say, as long as they can talk to you, so 2 years old, they can tell you what's going on, to 100 or older. So everyone, this patch is for everyone, right? Anyone can use it. The only time that we don't recommend the stem cell patches is when somebody has had an organ transplant and they're on anti-rejection medications. You know, so we're suppressing the immune system with the anti-rejection meds. And these, the X39 will help improve the immune system. So it goes against what the medical community is trying to do. So we don't want to do that. And we do the same with chemo drugs. We suppress the immune system. So if somebody's on chemo medications, we don't encourage you to do the stem cell patches. But some of the other patches can be used, however.
Okay, so we've got something safe for just about everyone, and it is non-transdermal. Could you explain what that means for people?
Sure. So, when you think of transdermal patches, we use them at the hospital as a nurse all the time. You put them on the skin and you're absorbing whatever's in the patch that's entering the body. In this case, a non-transdermal patch is really, it's just a frequency within that patch that is the infrared heat of your body activates. And when that frequency is activated, there's a signal that's given to the brain to move energy and enhance the light in the body, to move things, because conductivity gets blocked sometimes. The example I like to give people is, if you have a knee injury, for example, and you can identify with this, Robin, right? You have a knee injury and you have swelling and pain in that area. You're not going to move energy through there to get the oxygen, the nutrients, everything that needs to get there. It's blocked. And the brain gets a signal when there's blocked energy, and it will induce that signal pain. But when you can move, you can start moving that energy through the whole body. And that's what X39 does. I mean, it totally gets activated by the heat of your body. The signal gets given to the brain, and then energy starts to flow more freely in the body. And then people will often say in minutes that they feel the benefits. It's quite amazing.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I do want to take a little aside here, because someone said in the chat, Teresa said, same happened to me. I fell and landed right on my back. I put Eon on immediately, and my back the next day I had zero pain. So it's not an isolated incident, everybody. You can count on it, which is pretty wonderful. Okay, so these patches are amazing. This technology is amazing. What are the ideal conditions for people to get the maximum benefit? And I'm going to have some water while you share.
Well, and that is one of them, right? Is we want to be drinking lots of water. Water is a very important piece of moving energy in the body as well. So, sometimes people will use the X39 patch and they'll say, well, I got a little headache. And I just ask them, have you been drinking water? And most of the time they're going to say, no, I don't drink much water. I drink coffee, so they drink all these drinks that are very dehydrating. So drinking nice fresh water all day long is really important. At least, getting in ounces, half of your body weight in ounces is important. So that will really help move things. You wear the patches 12 hours on, 12 hours off, and you wear them consistently. I mean, I've seen a huge change with my mom because we were not using the patches consistently with her because she'd forget. And now we've got somebody coming in to put them on her every day. There's a huge difference in what I'm seeing with her wearing these patches, very consistently. So those are really important.
Okay, consistency, hydration, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Pretty easy for compliance, I'd say, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is, what would you say to someone that asks you, how long can I expect to wait before I notice something?
Well, that question is tough to answer because everyone is different. And we all have our history. We all have our exposures to things. Some of us are really fragile. And some people have more inflammation than others, and some people have more damage than others. So, depending on the individual, you have to give it at least 3 months. And I tell people, go 6 months. I mean, it took me 6 months to notice anything. I noticed 6 months into, using the patch, the X39 patch, I had a mole on my chest. It fell off. I was like, oh my God, and I noticed things like my blood pressure was dropping, my skin was improving. So you start to see that very gradually over time.
It is cumulative, everyone. So you talked about tracking. We want to track our results. So make sure that you get a health tracker from the person who introduced you, and it's available on our team website. It's available on the app, but get yourself a good baseline before you start, and then it'll also give you what to pay attention to. And so, so let's say someone is feeling something less than pleasant. Well, what do you say to them? They just started using the patches and going, I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel good. What do you say to them?
Well, generally I say let them know that sometimes that does happen, that, your body is, trying to heal. And as it does, some of the physicians will call it a healing crisis, that sometimes that will happen with folks as they're beginning to, things are beginning to shift and move around. I mean, we were talking to a lady the other night who said, gosh, I used it and I started feeling better and then I started feeling worse. And, so what generally I tell people is when that's happening, first off, drink more water, make sure you are hydrating. Secondly, if you need to, shorten the amount of time you're using the X39. Use it if you were using it 12 hours, go 6 hours if you can. If you can't do 6 hours, start with 2 and build up to 4. And eventually you will be able to do the full 12 hours. Again, everyone is different, and you have to listen to your body and go slowly and gradually. And eventually you'll see a huge difference in the way that you feel.
Okay, wonderful. So is it safe to use this technology when you're on medications?
Yeah, I love that question. And the reason I love that question is because, I've worked 45 years as a nurse. And, I just was so excited when I heard that we could use this technology because it's non-transdermal. It doesn't enter the body. It doesn't interfere with the medication, except for the 2 that I mentioned. And my mom's on 6 different medications, and I never worry about her using these patches. They do not interfere with medications at all.
Beautiful, beautiful. And how long do you recommend people give X39 a try? Because, our bodies didn't change overnight. So what do you share with people? How long should they, really give it a good try?
3 to 6 months for sure is really, an important piece. Even a year. Some people, I've seen people, really consistently use it for a year. And let me share, I love Connie's story of a gentleman that was coming into her. She owns a spa. She's a salon owner. And this gentleman was using the patches consistently for about a year when he went to see his doc, and he'd had eye issues. And when he went in to have his eye exam after using the patches for over a year, the eye doctor said he no longer had the conditions that he'd had before. And he just went back after 2 years, and they said that they're shocked because it's in his chart that he had those diagnoses. He had 2 different type of eye diagnoses, and he no longer has them. So that's pretty amazing, truly is.
I love it. So it's really good to get a baseline from a blood panel or, right after you see the doctor and go back, because amazing things happen. And they shake their heads because they can't figure it out. It doesn't make sense to them. I remember going to my eye doctor and he said I had, early signs of one of those things that older people get. And he says, oh, well, you can't reverse that, Robin. And I said, well, in your world, you can't, but in my world, you can.
Exactly.
And he was very open. It's great. It's great. Okay. So what else would you like to share before we jump into questions? Because there's a whole bunch of them.
Really? Just that we always want to remember that, yes, the patches are really going to help. They're about, I think that the thing that I hear the most from a lot of my clients or customers is that with the X39 patch, they get this immediate sense of well-being. They just feel really good. And, for some people it takes time, but you also want to remember that if you're eating a lot of junk and a lot of sugar and you're not drinking enough water and you're drinking soda and all those kinds of things, and you're not exercising and you're not sleeping right and you're under a lot of stress, those are all lifestyle behaviors that have to change, because that all contributes as well to whether or not you'll be feeling healthy or well. And the patches will work so much better and so much faster if you help things along by taking care of your body. I mean, it's our job to do that. We've been given this sacred vessel, and it's up to us to take care of this sacred vessel. We can really change things when we make the decision to do that.
Thank you so much for saying that, because the patches are amazing, but we have to do our part. And every time David talks, our founder inventor, he always talks about lifestyle choices. And so we've got to do our part. I spoke with someone today on the phone and I was in awe. I said, well, what have you noticed? And he had this laundry list. And at the end of the laundry list, he says, I'm about to fire my caregiver.
Yes.
I mean, it was one thing after another, after another, after another. It was like, I was going, wow, wow, wow. And then when he said, I get to fire my caregiver, I went, yes, now we're talking. Now we're talking.
Well, that really brings up, something for me, because when I see my caregiver annually, she says to me all the time, so Anne, I mean, you come here, I'm perfect. You have nothing that I'm concerned about. And the only concern I had over the past 2 years was my blood pressure. And with the X39 and X49, that's come down. So she says to me, I feel guilty charging you.
Then don't. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love
I
it.
do nothing for you. You come in here and everything is really doing well. Your labs are doing, everything is doing great. So yeah, it's kind of fun.
It's so fun to see everything moving in the right direction, and to know that, we're in the business of giving people hope that your future can be very different than you imagine, and it can be better and better and better. So I just want to share a quick story that showed up from Coach Clarissa. She said, our family recently traveled to LAX and spent every day walking over 20,000 steps in Disneyland.
Wow.
Thanks to X39, Energy Enhancer, and Eon from LifeWave, we were able to enjoy our vacation without experiencing any pain or fatigue. Before using LifeWave products, we used to experience a lot of discomfort, but now we are grateful for the blessings of pain-free travel.
That's awesome.
Isn't that great? I love it. I love it. I love it. And so,
shovel, last week for 3 hours. And when you haven't shoveled in a while and you go out and do that, you get up the next day and you're hurting all over. And I had no discomfort at all. So totally get that, Coach Clarissa.
Yes. The snow is so light here. Gregory takes out the leaf blower.
Oh, that's cool. Not here. We get heavy, wet stuff.
And that's very, very hard on the body. So God bless you. That's great. Okay. Now, if we have too much snow, we need a shovel. But all right, let's start with Rich. And we love having Rich show up. Rich is in the Philippines, so it's morning time over there. And she says, we have a 30-year-old female that has a disorder that damages the lungs, digestive tract, and other organs. She's on medication and oxygen for over 6 years now to ensure she's breathing clean air. Do you know of anyone with a similar medical condition who has used the patches?
I don't, but what I can say to you is go to GHK-CU PubMed. Look that up on pubmed.gov. Look up GHK-CU peptide, put in lungs, and you will see the benefits that you get from that for that particular peptide. The X39 patch activates that particular peptide. And that's a peptide that does a whole lot of different things. And the lungs, you'll see if you put respiratory tract and when you think of the GI tract, those are cells, right? So you're going to see a lot of improvement with the GI tract, which is, pretty quick with the gut, and lungs. If you look that up on pubmed.gov, I promise you'll see some amazing studies that have been done.
Yes, and I wrote that in the chat for everyone to research GHK-CU, because PubMed, if you go to PubMed, you can mention the disease state that we don't talk about here. So you might want to try that. But I
like putting an X39 on each lung point right here.
That's a wonderful thing to do.
Place to put it right there.
That's so great. And so Thank you. Thank you. So Christina, good evening and thank you for your time. I have several friends and PCs that have blood sugar issues. Which patches would you place in and where would you place them?
Yeah, always start with X39. I think that the X39 does so many things throughout the body. It really, I mean, it will activate 4,000 genes. It just plays such an important role. So I start there and then think about adding SP6, because SP6 is a wonderful patch that helps with balancing hormones. And when you're talking blood sugar issues, you're talking a hormone, right? Those hormones are all connected, you know, so that plays a huge role in not only with blood sugar management or hormone balance, and also helps with carb cravings and a lot of other kinds of cravings. And I like using it on the left side of the body, left leg, lower leg, 4 inches below the knee. If you palpate the outside of your knee, you know, hit the top of your bone and go to the side of the knee or that shin area, and you'll palpate that area and find a tender spot. That's where you want to put the patch, right there. Sometimes people feel that they notice something in another area, maybe on the inner aspect of that left leg as well. So try different areas, and you can certainly look those up. You know, if you look up any of the patch placements for SP6, you'll find that as well.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we've had lots of stories of people that things get better. Things keep getting better. Okay, this is interesting. My newest brand partner wants to know if the Ice Wave works identically for pain relief as the X39 frequency as the AccuLife patch strength for horses.
Yeah, AccuLife and Ice Wave are pretty much the same kind of patch. David had to, for federal regulations, he had to, you know, make or change the name of the patch specifically and do some testing with animals. And that's why they call that AccuLife. But it's the same frequency or patch, if you will, as the Ice Wave is. The Ice Wave and the AccuLife is a 2-patch system, which is different than X39. X39 is 1 patch. And it works, if you put it central in the body, it works all over, does a whole lot of different things. And again, I always tell people you want to use the X39. You can consider it the long game, if you will, because that will help you activate stem cells and keep those cells healthy and continue to regenerate healthier, robust cells. When you have some kind of pain and you have some damage there, you know, Ice Wave will, because Ice Wave is a 2-patch system, is a tan and a white, and it's a positive and negative charge. They communicate with one another. And when you put those on and they're communicating, they're moving energy back and forth from one another. And the X39, I like to use the X39 on top of the spine on C7. And I use the Ice Wave anywhere in the body where the pain is. And you kind of can move that energy through the body. So it works really well in that fashion. Did that answer that question?
Well, why don't you respond, Heidi, and let us know. But and what you said earlier, Anne, I think a lot of people realize that most often, not always, but most often pain is stuck energy.
It is.
And the patches, like you shared earlier, they open up the energy flow, which is very exciting.
And sometimes just the X39 does the trick. I mean, because that does take care of pain management. So I always like to start off there and see where I go with it. If I'm talking to somebody and they say they've got pain, you know, you give them a number 1 to 10, 10 being the worst kind of pain you can have, and 1 being, you know, hardly any. And you ask them, where's your number? And they say 4. Well, I'm pretty sure the X39 is going to take care of that 4, right? So go ahead and do that. But if I'm talking to somebody that has a pain level of 6 or 7, I'll do the X39, but oftentimes I'm going to need that second set. Sometimes I don't need Ice Wave. I can just use Eon. You know, Eon is wonderful for, you know, pain management as well. So I'll put the X39 and the Eon right where the pain is. In fact, the athletes love using it that way. They will use the X39, and when they get injured, they stick that Eon right where the injury is. And that really helps reduce that inflammation and helps with pain management as well.
Beautiful. X39 is so comprehensive. It's amazing. And most people start with just X39 for the first 60 to 90 days, unless you have some acute symptoms and situations. So, reach out to someone who can help you with that one. Okay, Rose, good morning. Well, Rose is probably
in the Philippines somewhere.
Another part of the world. I'd like to ask for suggestions for patching. My best friend has lower back pain where even walking or nodding, she seems to cry. She already takes pain relievers and some hot compresses, but the pain just won't go away.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a 10, right? Does that sound like a 10 to you? Yeah, that's a lot of pain. And I've worked with a lot of people with back pain. And again, we don't know where the energy is blocked, right? But this is about blocked energy somewhere. And we have to figure out where that is. So always put the X39 on C7 up top. And since it's back, and I'm wondering if it's middle or lower back, sometimes I find putting the pain patches under the feet on kidney 1. Now, kidney 1 is, if you look at the pad of the foot, it's right below the pad in the center. And you put the tan on the left, the white on the right. And now you're creating this triangle where energy can flow from one patch to the other and maybe move energy. Sometimes that doesn't do the trick. I mean, I had a gentleman that had so much pain. So I ended up adding Eon because he also had a lot of swelling. So I added Eon, and I found putting the Eon, because it was more on the left side of his body, putting the Eon on top of the foot between the big toe and the second toe in that indentation. I put it right there, and he got some relief. I found that he finally, because he was a 10, he said 10 plus when I was talking to him. And he finally came down to like a 6. But I wasn't happy with that, right? I wanted to get him, out of pain. So I ended up using a second set of Ice Wave and putting that right in the pain area on the back and moving the white one around till I found that he came down to a 4. So I finally got him down to a 4. It took 2 weeks to get him totally out of pain, but he's not had any pain ever since.
Yay! How wonderful.
You have to.
Oh my gosh, we love those stories.
And sometimes the energy enhancers can go under the feet and the Ice Wave in the back area. So, you have to sort of play with these patches. And of course, the X39 is going to be the patch that they want to keep on there, because that is going to continue to heal and repair the area and activate new stem cells so that this doesn't come back. There's some damage there. We want to repair that damage, right? So that's an important piece.
I love the way you call X39 the long game. It's going to do the regenerative work.
Exactly.
Yes. And some of the other patches will be the short game and give you instant or rapid relief. Okay. Anonymous, which patches and where do they go for the narrowing of the spinal cord? Many symptoms are connected to this condition, like legs buckling under me as I walk, bladder leakage, also getting a hunched upper back.
Yeah, so there's some great protocol for that. And in fact, I'll share another story. I love to share the stories.
I love your stories.
So one of our distributors, or a brand partner who is in New York, had a client who has had something very similar to what you're talking about. And we looked up patch protocols. We went on YouTube and looked up patch protocols for this kind of back issue. And the image popped up with using 2 Ice Waves and glutathione on the back. And I don't have it right in front of me, but I guarantee if you look it up that you will find it. And if I find it before the call, I'll try to share it before the call ends. But it is 2 sets of Ice Wave, and it is glutathione and X39. So those are the ones that were used. And that woman came on and talked to me about what happened to her after he patched her. He's a massage therapist. And she said she had so much joy in her face. She said, I have lived with this for so long. I've been in so much pain. I cannot believe I'm pinching myself. She said, I'm pinching myself because I can't believe I'm not having any pain. And she said, I feel like I'm going to go and do some exercise. And I've been thinking I want to exercise, but I can't. It hurts too much. And she said, I'm looking up yoga exercise and activity. And she said, I just can't tell you what I feel like. It's beyond joy that I'm going to be able to live life again, So she was vibrantly, speaking about this and just so joyful about being able to have her life back, and so, yeah, I will try to find that. I know I put it away somewhere because I thought we can't forget this protocol. It was such a great result that she got from it. Truly.
The stories are amazing, and when you guys share your stories, it helps other people. So it's so beautiful. So thank you. Okay, we have time for just a few more. Christina, what would you suggest to help bones heal and get stronger after surgery?
Oh, the combination of X49 and X39, X39 and X49. X49 is wonderful. In fact, the clinical study just got finished, and it was not expected when they did the study with X49 that they would see improvement in bone and that calcium would be pushed in the bone. So just think about how that is going to improve bone health. So it was, and that clinical study is available. If you go online under products and click science, you'll see it. I think it's the top one in there, and you'll see that whole clinical study. X39, X49, X49 is going to help with muscle strength, muscle definition, quick recovery, bone issues, bone density. It helps with cardiovascular. Combining the two of those is so powerful. And there's a great bundle. They call it the performance bundle because it does improve performance in a big way. The combination of X39, X49.
And you can save some nice money on that too.
Yeah.
That study that is about enhancing muscle and bone density, and that's very exciting because as people age, that is one of the things where people lose their independence when they lose their strength. One of my favorite stories was an 85-year-old woman that couldn't carry her groceries anymore, so she lost her independence. And then X49 helped her, and now she can. Now, how wonderful is that?
It's great. My mother's the same way. She's doing everything that she hasn't. Last year she wasn't able to do it. This year she's doing it. Isn't that amazing? And she's
how old? How young?
She'll be 93 in May.
I love it. Okay, time for two more. John wants to know, how do you measure and count your existing stem cells, and can you do this on a regular basis?
You can, you can go see a practitioner. I don't know if a regular practitioner would do it. You'd almost have to go see a specialist who does stem cell procedures that might do that blood test. I'm not aware of whether or not a normal PCP would do it, but certainly worth asking.
Yeah, we got to get that one figured out because I think it'd be wonderful for people to have baselines and before and afters on that one. Yes. Okay, we're going to finish up with Casey. Look forward to your advice for a colleague who's dealing with severe, in bold caps, hot flashes during the day, night sweats that interrupt her sleep. She's using SP6, X39, Eon, and glutathione, hydrates a lot. I told her to add electrolytes to her water in case she was drinking too much water. Do you have any other words of advice?
So she's doing the X39, the
SP6, Eon, and glutathione.
She might want to, back off on the glutathione a little bit. Sometimes glutathione can, because it's such a powerful patch. And sometimes I find that it's a little too much for certain individuals. And the other patch that I might recommend would be Aloe Vita, because Aloe Vita, that particular patch, and I would encourage you, go to myaloevita.com. If you could go to that particular website and scroll down to when you get to the almost midway, 3/4 of the way down that page, you'll see a before and after picture of a woman's face, because Aloe Vita is wonderful for skin. And below that is a clinical study. Click that clinical study and see everything that this Alavita patch does. And you may find that that is something that you might find is very beneficial in addition to what is already being done.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we have gone over, as we usually do with the Q&A, because we love sharing. And I want to thank you, Anne. That was really wonderful. Thank you, Gregory. And thank you to all of you who took the time out this evening or this morning or whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, to be with us, to learn about this amazing technology that's changing lives all over the world. And
thank you for having me, Robin. And also, I just want to say that in the chat, I did put, it's got a bunch of numbers, but if you click on that, the image is going to pop up.
Beautiful. Good
Okay.
job. Good job. So we'll give everyone a second to get that. And for those of you that are guests, we're so glad you came this evening, this morning, this afternoon, whatever time it is, to be with us. And we just invite you to get started. There is no risk. The patches do come with a 30-day risk-free guarantee. So give it a try and get back to the person who invited you. We have a wonderful program for customers. And if you like to share, we encourage you to become a brand partner because you'll get richly rewarded in our compensation plan for doing that. So thank you everyone for being with us, and we'll see you next week. Bye everyone. Thanks.